Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. In South Carolina, one of our shared Lutheran ministries is a long-term care facility known as Loman Home, now called the Heritage at Loman. About 30 or so years ago, the Loman Home was searching for a name as a way to honor significant volunteers and people who donate regularly. They asked a retired seminary professor for help, and he ended up suggesting the name the Innkeeper Society. You see, in Jesus' story of the Good Samaritan, the Samaritan takes the injured man to an inn, and then needing to continue on his way, he entrusted care of the man to the innkeeper until he could return. That seemed to describe well the mission of Loman Home, to care for someone on behalf of others. So the Innkeeper Society was born. I have to tell you, I was greatly impressed with the insight that professor offered. He took an almost unnoticed character in the Bible and applied it in a perfect way. I began to hope that one day I might be able to have that kind of insight. Well, about 15 or so years ago, my oldest child headed off to college. Noticing that at that time we had numerous parents with children off at college, my wife created a support group for these mothers who were feeling the absence of their child. She asked me what to call the group. After I thought about it for a few days, I suggested that we name it the Jochebed group. The Jochebed group? She asked quizzically. Who is Jochebed? I answered, that's the name traditionally given to Moses' mother, who set her child adrift in a little boat in the Nile River and entrusted him to God. Now, I don't know if that rises to the same level as the Innkeeper Society, but I was proud of it. Here in these weeks after Mother's Day, we are looking at the stories of mothers in the Bible. Frankly, some are good and some are not good at all. Today we're going to consider one of my favorites, Jochebed. At this time, the Hebrew people were slaves in Egypt, and the Pharaoh grew concerned that the Hebrews had grown so numerous that they were a threat to rebel and take over the kingdom. That led to the Pharaoh issuing a new rule. The new rule said that all male Hebrew babies born from then on were to be cast into the Nile River to drown. At last we come to Jochebed. When Moses was born, she hid him for 3 months to avoid the new law, but eventually she could keep him hidden no longer. So in an incredible spark of ingenuity, she did exactly what the law required. She cast the baby Moses into the Nile River. Only she added a basket for him to float in instead of to sink and drown. She'd followed the law, and there was no law about adding a basket. She then sent her oldest child, her daughter Miriam, to follow the basket to see what would happen to the baby. Sure enough, the Pharaoh's daughter had gone to the river to bathe. She saw the basket and found the baby. I'm sure she knew the baby was a Hebrew baby, but she likely interpreted this odd event of receiving a baby in a basket in the river as a gift from her gods, and decided to keep the child as her own. Miriam stepped forward and said that she knew a Hebrew mother who had recently borne a child and who could nurse the baby for the princess. It was all arranged, and Moses was returned to Jochebed to care for and to nurse. It is highly ironic that Jochebed was getting paid out of the Pharaoh's treasury to take care of Moses, which was the very thing she wanted to do. Moses' mother acted in profound courage, entrusting her son to God completely. She put him in the river, placing him in God's hands. Indeed, so often that's one of the hardest parts of being a mother, letting your child go. Jochebed did that in faith and trust. We also need to notice the other mother in this story, although it was a role she adopted. Pharaoh's daughter became Moses' mother. While we don't know her name, she has traditionally been called Batya. What Jochebed knew was that God would watch over her child. In the currents of life, we can know that God watches over us and that we belong to God. It's a mother's trust. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.